Hi everybody, and welcome back to Seasoned on Purpose. Step-by-step instruction in making and creating savory and delicious dishes right from the comfort of your own home, just for you. Well, we're going to get right into it today. We have a red cabbage, we have a green cabbage, and today we are making creamy coleslaw. So if you find that this is helpful for you, go ahead and smash that like button. And we're going to get started right now. All right, so here we go. So the first thing we want to do is to get rid of the top part of the cabbage, just because it's been hanging around in the store for too long, and we just want to make sure we get rid of that. Toss that over there. And then once it looks pretty good, like there's no loosey-goosey cabbage leaves hanging around, we can go ahead and get started with cutting this thing up. So we are just going to, if this was a large party that you were going to be preparing for, then you might want to use the whole cabbage, but just a party small enough for your family, unless of course they like to eat a lot, or in case like in my family where my husband loves cabbage, we might want to do the whole thing. But for this purpose, we're just going to go ahead and just use half. And then the next thing we want to do is, see this this stem right here of the cabbage. We always want to get rid of that because it's hard and it's just not useful for our purposes. And if I was having regular cabbage, it wouldn't be useful for my purpose. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it and carve it out. And this we no longer need. If you had a food processor, then you would probably just go ahead and put this whole thing in a food processor and then just let it pulse until it's chopped up really fine. We don't have a food processor, guys, so we're just gonna go ahead and just cut this up really fine. I don't mind doing it. And now listen, this is the same way. If you were to look at my previous video of cabbage that I made, you'll see that this leafy cabbage right here is all that you'll need for a cabbage, for fried cabbage. Delicious fried cabbage. Yep, just like this. You'll see it. Just put it in the pan and have at it. Take a look at the video. You'll see exactly how I made it. However, because this is going to be coleslaw, we want to make sure that we chop these up really, really fine. If you're doing this by your hand, what you might want to do is to separate a little bit out at a time. Chop all this up really fine. Put it in your colander because you do want to rinse it. And then take the next piece, put that in front, and chop that up really fine. This is plenty. See that? This is more than what I need. This will certainly feed a family of 4 because I haven't even put in the red cabbage yet. And the trick in cutting anything and chopping anything, you want to have a really sharp knife. Otherwise, you're not going to have fun at all. So, yeah, always have sharp knives. That's very helpful in the kitchen. All right, so now, again, you want to get all of the loosey-goosey leaves off. We don't need them. They're beautiful. They're lovely, particularly because they're nice, dark, rich red, but we don't need them. With coleslaw, the main ingredient definitely is the green cabbage, right? But you also want to have a little bit of color with it. So I'm going to use a quarter of this cabbage because I want to sprinkle it with the red cabbage. I want to sprinkle my carrots with the red cabbage. So I'm actually going to cut it again, straight down the middle. And I might just use a quarter, like I said before. I haven't decided whether I'm going to use even a quarter of this, but this is a lot of cabbage, of regular green cabbage, so I think I'm going to use all of that. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, everybody, I am not going to use all of this red cabbage here. I think it's going to be too much. So I'm just going to divide some here. I'm going to divide a little bit more here. And I am just going to put this much in it for now. Like I said, I don't want to have red cabbage for coleslaw. I want to have regular cabbage with a sprinkling of coleslaw, of red cabbage. All right, let's see what this looks like. Yeah. This is starting to come together. Oh, I smell the delicious fragrance of the cabbage. It's a little bitter, I grant you that, but it smells good nonetheless. Very, very strong, bitter taste, but I like it. Am I weird? I don't think so. All right, I like a little bit more color, so I'm just going to separate a little bit. And that's the thing about when you want to prepare something like this. I can tell you a teaspoon of this or a tablespoon of that. I don't always do that, but I just kind of go by looks. If it was a cake, absolutely. But something like this, buy a red cabbage. Most red cabbages are about this size. This was a pretty hefty red cabbage. And if it was this size, maybe you would cut it in half and then that would be it. But this is a pretty big cabbage. And this actually is a small cabbage. So a small green cabbage. So it kind of just depends on the size of the vegetable that you're cooking or the cabbage or whatever it is that you're preparing. And so I don't want to say a teaspoon or a tablespoon or a half a cup because you kind of want to go by looks yourself. And you might want you might want more red cabbage than what I want. And so I'm just giving you an idea of how to prepare it. Not telling you step by step that you have to prepare it like that. No way. Okay, I think I'm done with the mixing of the cabbage. Yeah. Look at that. Wow. Can you see that color? Can you see how the purple, and purple to me is majesty, royalty. Yes, I think I'm happy. All right, that'll be that. I'm going to put the rest of this right in this little pouch right here. You know I'm not going to get rid of this. This is not garbage by any means. No way. We are doing something with this. After I finish this meal today, I might just go ahead and make this dish for you. I think I will. Stay tuned for that, guys. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. Because I think I will make a, I'm not sure what I'll call it yet. What do you think? Do you have an idea what I'm going to call this? This is not going to be the full menu. I'm going to have a sprinkling of the cabbage. And since I have all of these leaves, of course, they'll be nice and pretty. And I'm going to have a sprinkling of the red, a sprinkling of the green. I'm not going to use all of these carrots. I'm going to have that. I'll have maybe some chicken strips, grilled chicken strips, maybe in it. And then what shall I call, with some sauces and everything. It's going to be good. Now, what shall I call it? What kind of a name should I give it? You tell me in the comments. All right. Okay, there we have it. And we are finished chopping, but I want to add some carrots. I'm not going to add all of these carrots. I just, again, want to sprinkle it with more color, not to make it a carrot slaw. It's coleslaw, right? I think that's good. Can you see this? See that? Mostly of it is the green cabbage, but then we have a sprinkling of the purple, the royalty, and we have a sprinkling of the red. When you're cooking, you always want to make sure that your kitchen area is clean because you don't want it to be messy. Messy makes it feel like you don't know what you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, so now on with the rest of the ingredients. Really simple recipe. I'm going to add just the dry ingredients first. So I'm going to add some salt. Now, some of you may like more salt than others. I'm not a great salt person, but salt definitely adds to the taste of any meal. So this is a half of a green cabbage, a quarter of a red cabbage. Again, you don't know what the size of the cabbage is, but I guess this is going to be maybe a good teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half. And so I'm going to do the same thing with pepper, a little bit of pepper like that. And that's, oh yeah, sugar. You want to add some sugar into your coleslaw because, as I said in the beginning, cabbage has a tendency to be a little bitter. And so you want to offset the bitterness. You want to offset the bitterness with a little bit of sweet. So start off slow because you don't want to have sweet coleslaw. You want all of your ingredients to blend so that someone can say, oh my gosh, this coleslaw, it's just great. It's delicious. What's in it? Ha ha ha. Would you like me to fix you some? All right, so we're going to just sprinkle a little bit of sugar in there. I don't know, start off with maybe a teaspoon and a half like that. And then just go ahead and mix that up. All the dry ingredients first before we put any wet ingredients in there at all. That way we can get this nicely mixed with all of the dry for dry, dry on dry. To be the sign of a really good cook is that you always want to taste your food as you go. You never want to prepare something and then say, here it is, without tasting it. No. So I'm going to taste this right now just to see if the seasonings are there like I like it to be. Yeah, I can add just a little bit more sugar. Now let me taste again. Much better. Now before I put any wet ingredients in here at all, I want you to see how the cabbage is already letting its juices out. Can you see that? Let me get a spoon for you. See that juice? Yeah. So I'm telling you that because cabbage is a water vegetable. It starts to emit its own juices whenever you add any seasonings to it at all, which is why when we add this mayonnaise to the cabbage, sometimes you'll see cabbage like this, which is a little dry, and sometimes you'll see cabbage that's too watery. Why is that? Glad you asked. That's because too much liquid, too much wet ingredients like mayonnaise, like vinegar that we're getting ready to put in here. It's too much. So you want to add a little bit at a time. So I'm just going to give this this is a heaping tablespoon. And I'm going to do that first and mix it in here. I can tell it's not enough, but I also want you to be able to see what I see. and it's formulating. It's starting to look like creamy coleslaw, but not yet. So I'm going to add another tablespoon of mayonnaise. Now you might be tempted to add some more mayonnaise, and I'm going to tell you don't do it because, as I said, cabbage is a water vegetable, and once you place this in the refrigerator overnight, it's going to settle. And see how, let you see, and see how you have the juices right there coming out. See that? Yeah, you don't want to have all of this space right here full of juice. It's too wet. You want creamy cabbage. Now, we're also going to add a little bit of vinegar. So why vinegar? Vinegar adds like an acidity to the cabbage that you kind of need. So you have the bitterness in the cabbage already, right? Then you add some of the salt to give it a nice salty flavor. And then you have the sugar to take away some of the bitterness, but then you want to have a little bit of an acidity to the cabbage that gives it that punch. So this is rice vinegar. I love it. They have different flavors of rice vinegar. This happens to be mild and sweet. Some are for glazes. So just check it out in your grocery store. Oh, I didn't taste it, did I? Thank you for reminding me. I think I heard someone say, don't forget to taste it after you've added the other ingredient. Okay, I'm gonna do that right now. My husband might say it doesn't have enough salt. I think it has too much salt. So it kind of depends on who your audience is, okay? I'm gonna add a capful. Every time you put new ingredients in something in one of your dishes, you wanna taste it because you may need to add something else. That's why when you're cooking, by the time you finish fixing your meal, you're no longer hungry because you've taste tested everything, but you have to, right? Okay, we're gonna put this on a plate, make it look nice and delicious and appetizing. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.